he's here and he's going to be speaking to you, but I don't think there's much that needs to be said about being a president of Right to Life, right? It stands for itself, stands for against abortion. Tim Moore, everybody.
Thank you. You know, when Donna and I were in the Army, we called this liquid sunshine. So I'm very grateful to God for giving us a break in the weather today. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about. Housekeeping. How do you like these balloons? Aren't they awesome?
Yeah.
At the end of Pastor Don's talk, I want you to release them. Boys, if you want to keep them, you can. The kids, the young and young at heart, if you want to keep your balloon, that's fine. But I want, we are going with a new type of logo and new type of colors and a new type of signage at our organization. Where's Julie? Julie, come out. Come up here. Come on, Julie. So Julie Bertnoli and Angela, where are you? Angela, get up here, Angela. Designed these new signs. On this side, this is Julie's side of the sign.
Love the woman, love the baby.
Say it
Love
again.
the woman, love the baby.
Yeah,
It's about
yeah,
both. I don't think that a lot of people understand that we do love the women, of course, first, because they're here first, but we also love the babies. So it's about both of them, and I don't think that the public really understood that. And so when I saw a YouTube video of I think she was about 17 at the time, she was in Canada and she went to get an abortion, and she actually did a 20-minute video of her abortion experience because she wanted other girls and women to know what to expect. And when I saw that video, she said that the thing that she was afraid of the most was having to go to the abortion clinic and cross the line of all these angry pro-life, against abortion protesters, and they would be so mean to her and saying bad things to her. And I thought, I can't believe people are doing that. That is not what the message is. The message is that we love everyone. We love the woman and we love the baby.
That's right.
So that's where the idea, the inspiration for this "Love the Woman, Love the Baby" sign came from, and that's what it's all about. Yep.
Thanks, Julie. You just became our chairman of our sign and materials committee. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And Angela Tranquilli is our office manager, our remote office manager for right now. And she came up with this design on the other side of the sign. So I brought about 25 of these. They're over here on the left. Please take one home. I really like what we did with the 40 Days for Life, where we had the yard signs. And you know, I, as a former as a recovering politician, I detest yard signs. I really do. But they're very effective. And if we can get the word out around town, that's always very helpful. Okay, so those are my two housekeeping deals. My name is Tim Moore. I'm the president of Springfield Right to Life, most of which is in our garage. Okay, and on Angela's laptop. And it's out there. We're still here. We're still fighting. We're still organizing. And we love you and we thank you for your support. But that's not what I came to talk about today. I came to talk about sledding. Sledding in April. I mean, it's not quite cold enough for sledding today, but it's close. Pretty soon, if the temperature dropped, we have about 3, 4, 5 inches of snow. We could all go sledding out at Passfield Park. Amen? Wouldn't that be fun? And I'm using this sled, S-L-E-D, for you and me to talk with our brothers and sisters who are abortion-minded and how to argue against them logically without having to go, well, God says so. God says you can. Okay? Using logic, using science, and using arguments that make sense for them so that they can relate to it. Because if they're not believers, they're not gonna care what God says or what the Bible says, right? Right? If they're not believers, you can't say, well, God says in this commandment, thou shalt not kill. So I want you to go sledding with me, and I want you to think about 5 different people or events. I'm going to give you 5 people here. Horton. Horton Hears a Who. Anybody ever read that? Wonderful story. Wonderful story. So remember Horton. That's the first one. The second one is Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Anybody not heard of Harry Potter? Okay, awesome. It's more popular than the Beatles. Line dancing. Anybody been line dancing before? Believe it or not, I actually have been line dancing. It was not beautiful. And Stephen Hawking. I said 5, I meant 4. Anybody know who Stephen Hawking is? He's a brilliant physicist. Brilliant physicist. He has ALS. He's wheelchair bound, and he is pretty much an atheist, pretty sure. So the first thing I want you to think about is Horton Hears a Who, and the S in sledding, and that stands for size. Where's my volunteers, my voluntold? Come up here, please, boys. All right, come on, bring your signs. And Brian, will you stand up too, please? Please. Okay.
Am I the size?
Who is bigger, Brian or Aaron? Brian is.
What do they win?
Brian, because you're bigger, does that give you the right to beat up on Aaron?
No.
Let's say louder. No.
No.
And tell me your name again. Charles. Charles, who's bigger, you or Brian?
Brian.
Brian, a lot bigger, right?
Yeah.
Does that give him the right to beat up on you?
No.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What's your name? Jacob. Say it louder.
Jacob.
Jacob, how old are you?
12.
Can you take on Brian?
No.
No. Just because you're 12 and you're the biggest in the family, does that give you the right to pick on Brian?
No.
No. So size doesn't matter, does it? You guys, if you want to go back, you can, or you can stay up here and be awesome. Size. The S in sled stands for size. Are large people more important than smaller people? No. A person's a person no matter how small. Makes me sad, doesn't it, that we have to use Dr. Seuss to justify life decisions. Very sad. The L in sledding. Wait a minute. Great. Is it this or this? Greg Wilson's my karate sensei, and he taught me that you have to use your left from your right, and I could never quite get it right. Could I, Greg? L stands for level of development. Level of development. So think about Harry Potter. You're a great wizard, Harry, right? When he was 12 years old. And he had to battle the evil Voldemort, who was pretty much the Prince of Darkness in that series, in that movie. But level of development didn't matter because Harry was a fully developed human being and used his powers, his good powers that God gave him to defeat evil. Does that make sense? So, it's true that baby humans are less developed than adult humans. A 6-month-old boy is less mature than a 16-year-old boy. Now, some of us would debate that. But self-awareness is not an indication of humanness. Does that make sense? Your knowledge of yourself doesn't mean that you're more human than Brian or more human than Aaron. It doesn't mean that at all. A person's a person no matter how small, and Harry Potter always beats Voldemort. I've got the S, which stands for size, and the L that stands for level of development. So let's go to E, line dancing. Boy, I tell you, I don't know how Donna agreed to marry me because I do not dance well. But she did anyway. She took pity on me and said, let's go dancing. So we would go dancing. Well, I want everybody to dance right now. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take one step forward and one step backward. See why I'm not asked to be the dance coordinator? I went back. You guys went forward. Now, everybody take your step backward. That's about 12 inches. 12 inches. You follow me? I moved 12 inches. Did you become another person because you moved 12 inches? Say no. No, you didn't. Not at all. You were just as valuable 12 inches ago as you are now. That baby that's fully developed in utero in mommy's tummy moves 8 inches down that birth canal is the same human being she was 5 minutes ago. Line dancing. Line dancing, Harry Potter and Horton Hears a Who. What's the fourth one? The D. The D stands for Stephen Hawking. And you know, Stephen Hawking is a brilliant, brilliant guy. But he also has a lot of problems. He's got a lot of physical problems, right? I want you to raise your hand, and Brian, you alluded to this earlier. I want you to raise your hand if you know somebody that's has to take an insulin shot every day. Every day. Raise your other hand, and Greg, you're going to have to help me with this. Raise your right hand if you know somebody that needs a kidney transplant or has to be on a kidney machine. I have a good friend named Larry. I won't tell you his last name because I didn't ask his permission. Larry had a lung transplant. Degree of dependency, ladies and gentlemen. Degree of dependency is the D in SLED. When Stephen Hawking says there's no God, when Stephen Hawking says there's no right to life, we don't say, well, you know, Stephen, you're on ALS. Whoops. And you're on life support half the time. If we pulled the plug, would anybody be upset about that? Answer, I would be upset about it. Would you be upset about it? Say yes. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I don't like that comparison. I like the Marine comparison. I don't like the other comparison. Ladies and gentlemen, if those people who are dependent upon us, whether they're developmentally disabled or they have a dependency, as we talked about, insulin or some other prescription drug, that doesn't give us the right to kill them. Right? Am I right? Say yes. Yeah. You know why? You know why that's important? Because degree of dependency is important. When that child is in utero, our opponents say they're so dependent they couldn't live outside the womb. And I would argue to you, and Dawn, you did a fantastic job in your talk. Oh gosh, I was really so moved by that. But that degree of dependency is met by organizations like Dawn's. Let's get that baby outside the womb. Let's give them life. Let's find the means to support them. Let's find the means to love them both. Let's find the means to get them to the next step where they need to be developmentally. All right, so SLED. Horton Hears a Who. That's the S. L. Harry Potter, remember, beats evil. That's the level of development. Line dancing, that's your environment. And then D is the degree of dependency. So I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with some questions. Why are we funding abortions with taxpayer money? Why? When you let go of those balloons a little bit, think about your tax dollars floating up into the air. That's exactly what's happening. Why are our fellow human beings being killed at all? Take the taxpayer piece out of it. Why on earth are we allowing this travesty to happen, period? And Brian, I think you brought this up earlier, and I know Don Becky did. Why are